The Tribe podcast show is a production of Kangaroo Fern Media Lab, which is all about supporting you to start and build a thriving business. Tribe podcast on AusPod Syndicate.
So Nic Henry Jones is a purpose-driven creative, an entrepreneur, a business strategist, and a thought leader, educator, and author of Passionate About Unlocking Potential. Her 10-year experience in running a marketing company and working with hundreds of brands and individuals and presenting at over 200 business and personal development events. Her website is henryjones.com, and also her marketing website is MarketMe Marketing.com.
Welcome, everybody, to this week's episode. We really appreciate you joining us. This podcast really shows us how we can all learn, live, and thrive off of each other. By sharing our knowledge through our conversations, we will impart some knowledge whilst learning ourselves how to progress even further. Here is your host.
Hello, Humanista. This is Miko Santos, and thank you for listening to yet another episode of the Tribe podcast under AusPod Syndicate. Please welcome Nic Henry Jones. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. So you're passionate about unlocking potential. So what is unlocking potential?
Unlocking potential can be in someone specifically, someone individually. It can be unlocking the potential of a business. So effectively, we do that through our marketing company, all of the things that we do there. We also unlock potential in organizations. So things like business development days, we're moving a lot into change leadership, change and culture strategy and things like that. But it's really about bringing out the best in someone or bringing out the best in an organization or in a business. And at the end of the day, behind every business, behind every organization is a bunch of people, right? So it comes back to people. So I think if we can just really get to the core and align things for people, whether it's personally, in business, and those things that lead into organizations as well, we can unlock their potential and have them functioning at their best. And that really is the core of everything that I do.
Is it hard to unlock someone's potential? Is it very hard? So what is your step to be?
I think a key is like really listening to where people are at. Like a lot of times people will have a business, they'll have a strategy, they really want to achieve their goals, they really want to achieve that potential that is possible, but they don't know how. And instead of us telling them, their next 10 steps in marketing, sometimes we've actually got to stop with the person and go, well, let's just challenge some mindsets. Sometimes it's mindsets, sometimes it's systems, sometimes it's challenging them to think differently and to not do things the way that we've always done things. And so for me, I've always been quite passionate about just getting a little bit further behind some of those things so that we can actually identify where people are at. Because at the end of the day, if you're trying to tell someone that, they can achieve six-figure business by Christmas, but their mind and their systems and their business is not in place and they're not positioned to do that, then we're wasting our time. So I think it's just thinking a little bit bigger and realizing that behind every brand is a person, is a family, is someone's hopes and dreams. And you know what? I just love working with people and we just have such a great time. Our strategy quite often aligns with them as well as a person. If we can bring the best out in them, they're going to love what they do and they're not going to work a day in their life. And that is when they can achieve their best success. And that's really what we love seeing. We just love working with people and helping them on all of those levels. Different people come to us for different things. We don't always work with everyone that closely.
Your podcast journey starts here. Take the first step on your side. Hustle with us. It starts with a great domain. Get your podcast web host with Beard and Coffee at www.beardandcoffee.com.au or find us at Facebook.
But a lot of our clients we do. And at the end of the day, we really champion them month in, month out, year in, year out. And that's why we've been so successful in business to this point.
So you're saying that by unlocking, so you need to check also their personal development as well, how to develop their...
Yeah, absolutely.
So because some business people, especially starting up or quite new in the business, they have idea, but they don't know how to do it. How do you resolve that problem?
Yeah, so I think it's just about really making the process as simple as possible, helping them to outline their steps and just supporting them because, more than 50% of new startups do not survive. They just don't make it. We are in our 11th year of business now. We were a startup back in the day, but most businesses will not survive. And it's because people's, they kind of function out of where they're at as a person. And if they're just thinking they're going to pull together a backyard job and make millions, then we're going to have to realign some things there because that's not how it works. So it's just about really helping people identify, really what it is they're trying to achieve, where they want to go, how we can go about getting them there. And business owners need support more than anything else. That a lot of the time, our phone calls are just, saying these are our next steps and backing them in that process. And that's really rewarding.
So you're saying you have to have a good business plan?
You do, but it has to be an aligned one. Like it has to kind of align with where you're at. I don't think there's a lot of value in aiming for millions and millions and millions from day one when you don't have systems in place, you're not clear on who your niche market is, and you're mentally not there either. And people that do scale up really, really big when they're not mentally ready for that tend to crash, and their businesses crash too because we're not paying attention to some of the little cracks or the finer details that are going to help them get there. So I think it's about definitely having a plan and definitely having a goal and not giving up, but being a little bit flexible about how you get there, because I know that for myself in business, I've just learned a hell of a lot about a hell of a lot of things. And that really has been part of my success, the fact that I've been able to learn and then apply those things from then onwards.
I think one of the reason I'm research on being a business owner, they are very afraid to talk to the public, especially if you have like new business, a startup. Some of them are very afraid to talk to someone. I know during my middle school, during my high school, I'm very afraid of public speaking. Do you think public speaking is also very important to a business owner or a startup so that they can grow their branding?
There's a lot of skills that we would refer to as hard skills and soft skills that are really valuable in business. So when I started out, when I was growing up, I wanted to be a teacher, but I didn't want to be in a classroom and I had no idea how I was going to make that happen. So when I started MarketMe Marketing, I started to train business owners via webinars like this. And we used to have, I think it was our second or our third webinar, we had 94 people from across the country on that webinar, and I had 8 or 9 clients the next day come to me because of that. So there are a lot of, there's a lot of benefit in having extra skills. I don't think you necessarily have to be good at public speaking. I've done over 200 events, workshops, seminars, conferences. I've kind of done it all, but I still get nervous and I haven't done it for a little while. So, but I just know that it's a really powerful way to connect with people. So if you want to be the go-to in your industry, those kind of skills are great to have. And they're actually what sets you apart from your competitors that don't necessarily want to be running workshops or getting in front of people. So I don't think you necessarily have to have it. There's a bunch of other skills like being able to collaborate and think differently, a little bit of design thinking, building yourself up in confidence and those kinds of things, surrounding yourself, just, really kind of mapping out the people that are going to be around you and surrounding yourself with people that are going where you're going or already on that level. So yeah, public speaking, look, it's great. I mean, at the end of the day, you need to be able to get up at a business networking event and, talk about your elevator pitch. You need to get up at a business event and be able to talk to other people. And so people will have different levels of confidence in that, and that's totally fine. But I think it comes back to your business as well, what it is that you're trying to do. If you're a fashion company, for example, you might just need to be nice and skinny, so that you can model the clothing range. Maybe that's all you need. So yeah, or you might be able to, kind of be able to just do Facebook Lives or something like that. I think it comes down to your business as well and your target market. I mean, if they're not at events, they're not at, they're not on Facebook, then there's no point doing Facebook Lives and those kinds of things. So yeah, a couple of factors to take into consideration there for sure.
So you see, you're also a public speaker aside from being an educator. How do you prepare yourself before a big crowd? Like webinar or conference, how do you prepare it?
Preparation is key. Preparation is power. I can remember I started my business when my twin boys were 9 months old.
This podcast is brought to you by AusPod Syndicate, powered by Kangaroo Fern Media Lab. Kangaroo Fern is Australia's independent video and podcast management agency with a mission to help individuals and entrepreneurs to start their own podcasts and harness the power of podcasting. Book now via www.kangaroofern.com.
And I would put them to bed at night and get up and be vibrant for a webinar. And there were a few times where I wasn't as prepared as I really wanted to be as a mum that was kind of dealing with little babies running around the house. And if you don't have good preparation, it really affects your confidence. And I think even if you choose to go off your notes or you choose to take your presentation in a different direction on the day, preparation just gives you the confidence to do that. So I make sure that I give myself at least a week out and I write my presentation first up, and then I sleep on it and I pick it up the next day, and then I have another look, and then I sleep on it and I pick it up. And that's really probably the best way that I've found to do it. I think a lot of times when you do something the night before, you wake up in the morning and you're a bit stressed because you haven't had time to kind of get your head around it. The other thing that I do is I just try and think of a bit of an opener. I think the opener when you get up on a stage or when you get in front of people is really key. I mean, not so bad on a Zoom meeting, right? Because we can kind of hide behind the camera. But if you're standing in front of 100, 200, 1,000, 20,000 people, the opener is key. And what I mean by that is maybe a joke or, you know, a little bit of an aha or something a little bit funny that gets the audience laughing. So it has to be something contextualized for them, right? If you can get on stage, I tend to walk on stage and I'll say something to get the audience laughing, even if it's just something sarcastic that everybody in that room would get, because it's kind of contextualized for them. While they're laughing, I settle myself and I find my spot and I just take a few breaths and then I start to speak. And that has been my go-to for many, many years. I don't even know if I read that or fell into that or made it up myself. I probably read it somewhere. But that has really just been, you know, whenever I speak, that is what I do now. I try and break the ice a little bit, give the crowd a few seconds while I just find my stage, you know, my space on the stage.
All right. So you're saying you read sometimes in relation with the public speaking. What book should I read or our audience or our listener to learn how to get a good on public speaking? Do you any recommendation of the book should I read?
I don't. But I would say the best way to learn is to follow some damn good ones. So, you know, you might follow Anthony Robbins, you might follow Darren Hardy. Find someone in your industry who is really good at public speaking. You might even watch some TED Talks and find some people there that can kind of align with, you know, your industry or your topic that you're talking about. Watch what other people do. I think that is really one of the best bits of advice that I've personally had. You know, people that do that kind of work, or there's so much information on the internet, like you can search anything.
Like what you hear so far? Make sure you never miss an episode by clicking the subscribe button now. This podcast is possible by listeners like you. Thank you for your support. Now back to the show.
And basically get that information. I did do a workshop with a guy, I can't remember his name now, but it was about 6 or 7 years ago, and he taught us how to basically publicly speak. And so I think that everything that you can attend or learn so that you can fine-tune your skills so that you can step up with that level of excellence is only going to make you stronger and more confident, and the outcome will be a lot better. So I just think, you know, it's really important that we take charge of our upskilling, even if it's going to someone else's workshop and being bored. You know, I've sat on some pretty horrible webinars in my time, boring ones. I've just gone, this is really boring, but hey, I'm quite, you know, engaged, and it just helps with your confidence. Even if they're telling you what you already know, that builds your confidence as well, so that you know that you're on the right track. So, you know, just immerse yourself in as much, I guess, learning as you can along your journey is probably one of my best tips.
Thank you for that. So the reason asking about a book to learn in relation with good public speaking, because the
Yeah.
next question I have for you, what is your life, your masterpiece? Is it,
Yeah.
so
So,
what is that?
your life, yeah. So, your life, your masterpiece is one of the books that I've written. I've had a very interesting journey through the years. I turned 41 this year, and I'm always processing life. I'm always going, why did that happen? Why did that happen? What can I learn from this? What kind of pain in my life can I turn into gain? As I was kind of processing, after a really tough situation in my life, I sort of just went to work mentally and thought, right, I need to get to the bottom of what is going on here. And so I learned a lot about myself. I processed my past, all of the tough stuff, all of the good stuff. I processed, the things that made my life work. And I realized that, after a really tough situation, that a paintbrush was in my hands, that I could actually create the life that I wanted to live, a life that aligned with who I am personally, and a life that's aligned with the things that light me up. And so I wrote a book called Your Life, Your Masterpiece, and it's all about the power of intention. So intention can be used in any area of our life, business, personally, in our relationships with our kids, with our partners. Intention is really one of those powerful things. And the other word that's powerful is alignment. And I think my friends are probably sick of hearing about it from me, but hopefully I'm a walking example of a life that is aligned. And so I've written a book sharing all of my journey, the parts that I can share, the other parts are irrelevant for now, but I've written a book to help other people make sense of their past and realize that the paintbrush is always in your hand. It doesn't matter whether you think you have no hope, you always do. And we are always one decision away from changing things to move our life in a different direction. And so it's my gift back, I guess, to society, to women, to men. Had some great feedback on it. There's a lot of things in there that are just really profound truths. And I did read it myself again over the Christmas break because I just thought I need a reminder of what it means to be living an aligned, authentic life. So that is available at yourlifeyourmasterpiece.com. We do have paperback, but we also do Amazon for the ebooks. And it was just a really brilliant way to process my first 40 years. And I launched that at my 40th birthday last year. So that was pretty special.
We are Independent Podcast Network. We are Guerrilla Podcast Syndicate. Would you like to hear your brand while supporting quality podcasts? Contact us now at advertise@guerrillapodcastsyndicate.com.
On your book, Your Life, Your Masterpiece, are you also trying to connect with other women entrepreneurs to get up, do whatever you want to do?
Yeah. I think we're the most successful when we align what we do with our purpose. My purpose, unlocking potential in people, organizations, and brands in business. Everything that I've done with my marketing company has aligned with that. So MarketMe Marketing Australia aligns with all of my passions. So I love people, I love being creative, I love online stuff, I love, sort of investing in people, I love unlocking that potential, I love educating and presenting and training. And so I built, MarketMe Marketing Australia around that. So everything else that I do, and I have the book and I have a few other brands, my NicHenryJones.com stuff is all of my public speaking, and all of that sort of thing. So everything that I do from now and into the future aligns with my purpose. And I think as entrepreneurs, if we can be living out our purpose through what we do, success is just going to be a very organic outcome. You don't have to be fighting it. And I think people that are stuck in jobs that they want to be in is potentially because they're not living out their purpose. And so you can't always live out your purpose here on earth in a job, in a business. But that's one of the beautiful things about being an entrepreneur is that you actually can attempt to do that. And most of the time it works. So definitely, I think other entrepreneurs need to tap into that authentic side of who they are and then living out their purpose through their businesses. And that's really when we have the best success. And it's a lot of fun. And honestly, I love what I do. Like I don't, every now and again I get a bit bored, so I mix it up. But apart from that, if you can align what you do as an entrepreneur with your purpose, things just flow a lot better.
So what is your advice, and also what do you think about some entrepreneur? So they're starting their business, but their main mission is to get income first before the benefit. Especially today, it's have a pandemic. Some of it's easy to get an online business so that I can get more money, income. So what do you say about them? What do you advise for them?
Yeah, I think in business it's really important to do your research. If there's, if you want to go into hairdressing or something like that, and there's already a lot of hairdressers in your area, you need to be very specific about your target market and your niche and what you're going to offer. And I know myself as an ideas person, I get stuck on this all the time because I think that's a fabulous idea. I should do that. And then I take a step back and I go, well, hang on a second. I've got to build the website, I've got the logo, I've got to do the socials, and I'm snowed under with work as it is. And it doesn't really align. It's a nice to have. So I think it's a really good idea to just, instead of jumping out and starting a new business, take some time to do the research. If you can offer something that is slightly different and connecting with a different target market, great. If you can fulfill a need, with your business, even better, right? That's, I think, why MarketMe Marketing Australia went crazy when it did, because it was 11 years ago, people were just starting to use social media for business, and they were confused. And I could kind of see a need of a marketing company that could be very, we have a bit of a gift for taking all the information and making it very simple for business owners. And that's how I train people. That's the kind of content that we use in the marketing. And so I saw a need and I jumped on it. And that's when we went crazy, and we have not stopped since. Like, I've not had any other job in that time. MarketMe Marketing has been my core business. So I think if you can fulfill a need as well, that's a good way to go. The other thing is, if you can align it with your purpose, like we've already talked about, you have a higher rate of success, I think. If you can do that. I don't think people should be jumping in necessarily. Get some good advice, like, go to some networking events, find some people that you connect with, and get some good advice and to say, guys, I want to do something, I want to start a business. How do I go? I want to talk to you about it. Get some business friends together, and we've often done this, get some business friends together, have a big brain dump, and let's work out the plan from there and see if it's something that can be viable. I think many times we just go, that's a great idea, but we don't do the research and we don't stop to do the groundwork. And it's really hard to properly launch a brand if you don't have a decent logo and branding. It doesn't have to be expensive these days, but you do have to have it reasonably high quality. And there's lots of tools out there that can help you to achieve that. But I think you just need to be really clear, because as an entrepreneur, you need to stick at it from day one right through to, output kind of a thing. You need to know where you're going from start to finish, and along the way, be able to evolve and learn and kind of, breathe life into that at the same time. And it's a big thing to do. And I guess my other hint would be, or tip would be, start on the side first. Like, don't just drop your job.
This podcast is brought to you by AusPod Syndicate, powered by Kangaroo Fern Media Lab. Kangaroo Fern is Australia's independent video and podcast management agency with a mission to help individuals and entrepreneurs to start their own podcast.
And say, I'm going to go become an entrepreneur. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I had two businesses before MarketMe Marketing. They were product craft businesses. Now, there's not a lot of money in that, but I learned a lot in that season. And, I gave those up when I started MarketMe Marketing, but they were great experience. Like, I made no money, I spent too much. But the experience that I got from those businesses was just incredible. And so I think if you can, sort of start something on the side that you can just build into over time, and then as it builds, or if you get made redundant or something like that, for sure, put some time and effort into it, but don't just throw money into a business without speaking to either a business consultant or having an ideas session. Quite often we sit with clients for 2 hours and we just have a big ideas brain dump, and then we help them kind of fine tune and map that out. Write everything down. I've got a book where all my ideas go. Haven't, because if I sleep on them a few days ago, actually that's not such a great idea after all. But yeah, get it out of your head, write it down so it's there. If you get bored and you get stuck in a pandemic, you've got something that you can look at. So that's probably my best tips on that.
Thank you. Very well said. So you're also talking about tools to use. Where can I learn about the right social media tools to use on my business?
Yeah, so I think it starts with, I guess there's three parts to that. The first one is the imagery. So, there's no surprise that social media and Instagram are all about images and video these days. Every post has to have an image or a video with it to really gain any traction. So really, really important to make sure that you get some good imagery. I have clients using Canva. Canva for work is a very low level. If we're talking about, small to medium businesses that just want to kind of get started, Canva is a very low level graphic design tool that actually, can help you create some really, really good imagery without spending thousands. And, if you go Canva for work, you can drop all of your branding in, you can drop your fonts, your colors, your logo, and then it automatically kind of assigns those things to your imagery. So there's that. There's the content, having a bit of a plan. We manage a lot of social media profiles for clients, and we have our own, we sort of map out a plan for them. And I think it's just about really providing good, high quality content, varied content, that they don't want to be sold to constantly. They want us to vision build. That's our role, is to vision build and story tell why they need a particular product or service. That's at the core of it, really. And so having a strategy around that is important. Then there's the, the time factor. That's the biggest issue when it comes to business. How am I going to have time to do this? And so we use a couple of tools for scheduling, and that doesn't mean we're not on the pages every day, because we are on Facebook and Instagram checking comments and monitoring it from there. It just allows us to have some consistency. We can plan, we can map things out, and then if clients send through other content, we can change that up, for example, and reschedule stuff or whatever. But the core things, the core posts are going out. So that's a really good way to kind of map your content out. I used to use Hootsuite, but they didn't have Instagram at the time. So I moved away because it was also quite clunky. I now use either later.com, where you can actually put, one post in, you can select your social media profiles, and it will actually allow you to change that post up, including inserting the appropriate hashtags for each platform from the one screen. So Later is a really good tool. The other one that I do use is OnlyPult. And OnlyPult used to only be Instagram. We used to do everything else from Later and then do Instagram from OnlyPult. Now OnlyPult allows us to do all of the platforms, which is brilliant, because there wasn't one platform that would address all of the social media platforms. So OnlyPult is probably the other one that we use really, really well. And quite often we use bit.ly.com for our links, just to shorten them, because they're getting longer.
All right. That's a lot of good advice and helping tips. Do you think there's still a gender gap in the business?
Look, I don't really get into any of that. I just think if you are a purpose-driven woman who knows where she's going and has a plan on how to get there, none of that matters. Absolutely. I think that is a cultural label that we just don't need to worry about dealing with, especially when it comes to being an entrepreneur, right? If you're if you're working for somebody, that is a different story. Potentially there is still gender gaps there in the workforce. But as an entrepreneur, if you're your own boss, you just have an opportunity to go for it. And, some of the biggest entrepreneurs in Australia are women at the end of the day. So I don't think there's a gap at all. I think that we just need to get really clear on what it is we want to achieve, get really clear on where we're going, how we're going to go about it, and just go for it. I don't really buy into any of that stuff. I just get on with it. At the end of the day, you've been given everything that you need to create an amazing business. I think for women, the biggest issue is confidence. We just have to back each other champion each other, hang around each other more, and just know that, just because we're female doesn't mean that our confidence should be anything less than it should be. But yeah, I think that's probably the only issue that I see. But no, we just get on with it. Just get on with world domination. Go for it.
Thank you. Very well said. So for our listener and audience, so all the information on this podcast will be on the show notes. So all the website that Nicole say today will be on the show notes, and also the website of Nicole as well is still on the show notes. So please visit that, and you can. So if someone want to have a chat with you, want to contact with you, so how they gonna connect with you?
Yeah, so you can come through my MarketMe Marketing Australia website, so marketmemarketing.com. I do have a free complimentary 30-minute consult on there, available for people to just touch base and have a bit of a chat. And quite often we'll talk there about where they're at, where they want to go. We'll throw some ideas in the air as to how they can get there and what the steps are. And then it's a completely complimentary 30-minute session. And then, yeah, anything they want assistance with from there, if we can help, then we sort that out. But always just happy to chat and champion anyone that comes through there. And yeah, just try and, give them some things to think about, a little bit of direction as well. So yeah, marketmemarketing.com is probably the best place to go.
Thank you for that. Any parting word before we wrap up the podcast?
I think just really look forward to next year. This year's been a hard year for business. We personally didn't stop. We had some clients just go hard, which was amazing. But I just think that if we can just really be at peace with this year and know that it's been full of opportunity and just process the year in a really good way, next year's just going to be different. And, I agree. I still think there's still going to be a pandemic around. We're still going to have challenges. But at the end of the day, it's really what we make it. And I think if we get good at being flexible and good at pivoting and good at just rolling with, how kind of this whole scenario rolls out, we're actually going to grow in the process. And that's really, really important. So I just think be ready for a fresh year next year, because it's going to be a good one.
Thank you so much. Please check the website. That is the NicHenryJones.com. That's a website. And the other one is the MarketMe.com.au.
Marketmemarketing.com. Yeah.
So please visit our websites, and also, as I said, it's going to be on the show notes so that you can click and then have a chat with Nicole about your business, and she's happy to help you. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for another episode of Tribe Podcast under AusPod Syndicate. So thank you so much for our sponsor. So our sponsor for the podcast management is Kangaroo Firm Media Lab. So they're the one who's taking care of the podcast management, editing, so sort of all the things. So thank you for that. Just visit the kangaroofirm.com and they will have you for that. Thank you so much, Nicole, for that time, and see you next week for another episode of Tribe Podcast. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. Make sure to visit our website at www.auspodsyndicate.com.au, where you can subscribe to the show in Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or via RSS, so you'll never miss a show. While you're at it, if you found value in this show, rate and review this podcast and share it with your friends. You can also join the conversation with AusPod Syndicate on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Please consider making a donation to help us keep making the podcast you love. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us.